Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, the black and gold standard for Pittsburgh Steelers coverage. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the cheat sheet edition of the Steel City Underground podcast. My name is Joe Kuzma, and I am here to preview Sunday's upcoming game between the 2-6 Pittsburgh Steelers, coming off a bye, coming off a short week from a loss on Monday Night Football, the 3-6 New Orleans Saints, and kind of didn't do some of my due diligence heading into this game, unfortunately. On our preview show, maybe a little bit too much chit chat. Talked a lot about the Steelers injury report, which I'm going to take a look at right this second. And it looks like TJ Watt is going to be a go. And depending on who you speak to, defensive coordinator Terrell Austin has said that Watt will be on a pitch count. And you can't obviously expect a player that hasn't played in close to 2 months to just step right in and be in football shape. However, Watt says, absolutely not. No pitch count. He's full go, and he's ready to contribute, but just waiting for that corresponding move to transpire over in the transaction world. And we see a little bit of the other things that have taken place with the Pittsburgh Steelers and their updated injury report, and a few players notable that are out in this game and a few that aren't. So let's begin with newly traded for William Jackson III. I know there's going to be a lot of people kvetching about this one, but Steelers had to feel comfortable enough. The guy had to pass a physical in order for them to make that move. So they must feel wherever he was with whatever injury that he will be available. He's obviously on this injury report, not on injured reserve, et cetera, et cetera. Keller Witherspoon probably had a setback. I was assuming that he may have been shelved because of performance, but performance may have also been due to injury. Let's face it. Of course, for James Pierre, but Levi Wallace will be back in place with full participation in practice all week after injuring his shoulder, trying to dive, catch an interception. So just a couple of weeks ago, bye week enabled him to get back to full health, but the Steelers will be down two of their corners. They will have, of course, Cameron Sutton on the other side opposite Wallace. Christian Kuntz, we mentioned this one, full participant each and every day this week, so no concerns with the long snappers' ribs. Miles Jack and Larry Ogunjobi, both with knee injuries. Those two were some question marks, and it looks like both of them were full participants on Friday. So the Steelers are going to get a little bit of reinforcements there. It looked a little scary because replacing either of those guys isn't ideal. Malik Reed is questionable, excused for personal reasons on this list. Of course, Cam Hayward back to practice after a veteran day off on Thursday. DeMonte Casey, who just came off of injured reserve and was added to the 53-man roster in place, swapping actually with Chris Boswell, who was just placed on injured reserve, a full participant as noted. And then Kevin Dotson was added late here on Friday, limited and questionable with an abdomen injury. Of course, Watt still within that 21-day window to return. So no official word on that as of just yet, but they've got until Saturday at 4 o'clock to make that decision. And from what it looks like, all indications are that TJ Watt will be returning to play the Saints 1 o'clock game. Let's look at the Saints injury report. This is where I said I didn't get to do the due diligence with my buddy, The Flash. And I blame it on him not being the pregame guy usually. But lots of other good insights, right? But Marcus Davenport was dinged most of the week. He was questionable. I didn't get to fully come around to the Saints offensive line. I started to go there with Eric McCoy being out, starting center, and Cesar Ruiz being slid over into that position mid-game last game on Monday night. Andres Pete, one of the starting guards, also out. They're already down a tackle. Trevor Penning is within just activated or just designated for return. He was on injured reserve. So they're down 2 to 3 offensive linemen. Penning, I don't think, had much of any practice through this week, so I'd be very surprised if they just threw him out there immediately. And then, of course, limited but full. Limited the rest of the week, full on Friday is Ryan Ramczyk. So just about every single player on the Saints offensive line has some dings and dents here. Jarvis Landry was limited. We don't necessarily think that he's going to ever be a go if you listen to the pregame show. And if you hadn't, check that out. That one posted a little late on Thursday, a little later than our usual schedule. However, the secondary of the Saints also kind of suspect. I mean, they had some dudes back there, but Marshawn Lattimore, he never got out to practice, so he's completely out in this game as well. Marcus May is questionable. Got some abdomen injuries all around between, Kevin Dotson, Lattimore, and now Marcus May. So PJ Williams is a DMP, yet another depth player here for for the Saints. Pete Werner is out, a linebacker, did not practice all week. They're just kind of banged up all over the place. Cameron Jordan had a Veteran Day arrest, so he gets thrown on here, of course. There's illness going around. That was PJ Williams and also Tano Passanone. So it'll be interesting to see because the Saints aren't at full strength along their offensive line. They had the short week, plus their secondaries dinged up as well. Maybe the Steelers could get something going finally. I mean, this is what it is. That's what they call like attrition. It's survival. It's outlasting the other team and being healthy enough to get the job done. We'll see how this goes. All time, the Saints lead this series 9-7. The last win was December 23rd, 2018 with the Phantom Joe Hayden pass interference. I think there was 2 of them in that game. And that's the one that everything fell off the rails. Antonio Brown had a career day, and then all of a sudden he was missing in action after that. And basically the last time you saw him in action as a Pittsburgh Steeler. The home series is tied 3 apiece with the last game in 2014. The Saints won that one 35-32, a shootout for those of you who take your memory even further back. And on the road, the Saints lead this series 6-4. They have won each of the past 3 games in this series, but really only 3 like in the last 10 years, not 2 teams that play each other very often. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, 0-3 lifetime against the New Orleans Saints. First year with the Saints, head coach Dennis Allen is 3-6, obviously respective of what the Saints record is right now. Overall, he's 11-34 in 4 years as a head coach around the league. He's 2-0, however, against the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game's Sunday at 1 o'clock, Acrisure Stadium. Natural grass. Don't have to worry about all this turf noise and jazz that's going around the league and everybody complaining about injuries with the various field surfaces. This one will be played or will be broadcast on Fox, however. So don't go looking for this on your CBS networks locally if you're in the Pittsburgh area. Most fans could check this out on WPGH, which is channel 53. Other local affiliates are going to be carrying this game, but not a whole lot of them. We take a look at the map. The Steelers are in green on this one. So unless you're in like basically the hardcore area that covers the Pittsburgh Steelers, which of course, Western Pennsylvania on down through West Virginia, you got parts of northeastern Ohio, dotted across through southeast and the south, basically southern Ohio, aside from Dayton and Columbus area. Cincinnati area will actually get this. And then, of course, if you're in the Saints broadcast area, you see that in the green as well, the whole state of Louisiana and then some. So not a widely broadcast game, and as you would probably expect with the Steelers getting even bumped from Sunday Night Football, getting flexed to a 4 o'clock afternoon game the following week. You can stream this on NFL Plus. There's no fancy real Fox apps unless you already have a login through another television provider. I think you might get 10 minutes for free or something like that if you're looking to squeeze some time out of it somehow, some way, if you don't have another way to grab this game. Adam Ammon is the play-by-play guy with Mark Schlereth. Christina Pink is covering the sidelines. Steelers radio network, of course, at 48 affiliates, covering the game with Bill Hillgrove, Craig Wolfley, along with Missy Matthews and Max Starks as your sideline reporters. That's available on the home feed for Sirius 113, XM 231, and on the internet at 826. Your call signs for, or channel numbers for the New Orleans Saints on Sirius 121, XM 386, and on the internet 822. 2. Your referee is Carl Sheffers. They moved like Land Clark over from this game. I think he was originally the one that was assigned to this one. So I don't know I don't really have a whole lot to say one way or the other about this particular officiating crew. So take that as you will. A little bit more, you might want some points for, points against. Steelers averaging 15 points per game as an offense, just putrid. The Saints are 23.6. Steelers 299 yards of offense to the Saints 377.6. Let's see, against the spread. Well, let me see. Home record, away record. Saints are 1-2 on the road this year. Steelers are 1-2 as well at home. So that's kind of interesting. The Steelers 15 points per game on offense is good for next to last in the league. The New Orleans Saints are 11th, but points allowed, they allow 25.2. That's 28th in the league. The Steelers are allowing 24.6, which is 23rd. So it's still kind of tight. We're only talking about maybe about a half a point difference between the two per game. However, the Saints are dead last, -10, and the giveaway takeaway department. Steelers are 27th after starting the year quite solid. Passing yards per game, Saints are 7th. Steelers are 23rd. Saints 12th in rush yards per game, averaging 130 to the Steelers 94, which is also 27th. So you can see how the Steelers end up almost dead last and everything else. The Steelers defensively are 31st against the pass rate now, giving up 277 yards per game. The Saints are only giving up 199, which is 9th, and then against the run they are 19th, giving up 120. The Steelers are 16th, giving up 117, so kind of neck and neck against the run. We'll see how that ends up working out. Let's see what else I got for some of you. Steelers are led defensively by Alex Highsmith, 6.5 sacks, and Micah Fitzpatrick with 3 interceptions. On the Saints side, it's Demario Davis with 6 sacks even, and Teron Matthew, the Honey Badger, with 2 picks as well. Kenny Pickett leads the Steelers offense. He is thrown for 962 yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Andy Dalton gets the start for the New Orleans Saints this season. He's thrown for 1,385 yards, 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. It's also good for a 93.4 quarterback rating through the year. Rushing wise, the Steelers are led by Najee Harris. Najee Harris has 361 yards so far this season. That's good for 3.3 average and 1 rushing score. Alvin Kamara for the Saints has 443 yards and 4.3 average and only 1 rushing touchdown as well. On the receiving end, Deontay Johnson, 43 receptions, 372 yards, but no touchdowns. The rookie, Chris Olave, for the New Orleans Saints, formerly of the Ohio State Buckeyes, has also caught 43 balls this season. However, he's almost, I won't say quite doubled up, but 618 yards. Pales in comparison, right, to Deontay Johnson with 372. That's good for a 14.4 average, and Olave also has 2 scores. Let's see. I covered the points against defensively. We don't really need to know about the punters, and of course, the big kicking news is that Chris Boswell, who was 9-9 of all of his extra point attempts, 12 of 16 on field goals, with a couple of those misses really long or the windy game in Buffalo. He will be replaced by Matthew Wright, who was signed to the Steelers 53-man roster earlier this week. He comes from the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad, but had kicked for the Steelers back in 2020. Will Lutz is the kicker for the New Orleans Saints. He's perfect, 20 of 20 for a point after attempts. Just think of that, 20 of 20. Yeah, he's had a chance that's 20 touchdowns, right? Steelers only 9. 14 to 19 field goal wise. We'll see what the weather's like. We'll see how the cold is. Do not forget that they play in the Caesars Dome, Superdome, Louisiana Superdome, whatever. It's had a bunch of different names, but it's a controlled climate environment. We'll see if Kenny Pickett can continue successful with completions. Okay. He's had 25 plus completions in 3 of his past 4 starts in the league. We mentioned on the pregame show that Najee Harris ranks 3rd among running backs since last season, going all the way back to last season. It's 1 of 3. He's ranked 3rd amongst running backs with 98 receptions. He's 1 of 3 with Josh Jacobs and Joe Mixon with 1,500 plus rushing yards and 500 plus receiving yards. Again, going back to 2021. Jaylen Warren, the rookie, had a career high 75 scrimmage yards, 50 rushing, 25 receiving in week 8. And we'll see what happens. George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth again, team high week 8. He had the team high in Miami as well with receiving yards, receptions. We'll see if TJ Watt ends up playing in this game. He has 50 sacks in 40 career home games and 15 sacks in his past 6 games at home. You think that guy maybe makes a difference? So he's looking for his 7th straight home game with a sack in his 8th with a tackle for loss. The Steelers can certainly use it. Micah Fitzpatrick has, the NFL stats, they have a bunch of typos here. 9 pass deflections in his past, I don't know, it's blank. So can't tell you. 5+ tackles in 8 of his past 9 games at home. Aims for his 3rd row at home with an interception, 4th in a row at home with a pass deflection. And Cam Sutton has a pass deflection in 7 of his 8 games this season. Andy Dalton on the other side starting. You might remember him from the Cincinnati Bengals. He has an 80+ rating in 5 of his 6 starts. He's looking for his 4th road start in a row with 300 plus passing yards. Limited success maybe against the Steelers or a familiar foe, so you're always going to have to keep an eye on him. Alvin Kamara has 6+ catches and 100+ scrimmage yards in 4 of his past 5-6 games. Aims for his 3rd in a row on the road with 70+ scrimmage yards. I apologize, but somebody like completely butchered the statistics off the NFL communications. It's just like, where is all of this stuff at? So let me see if I could actually pull this one up direct from them. Apologize. Let's see. Kamara, 4 of his past 5. That was a lucky guess. Chris Olave has led the team with 6 receptions, 71 receiving yards on Monday. Aims for his 4th in a row with at least 5 catches and 8th in a row with 50+ yards. He leads all rookies in receptions with 43 and receiving yards, 618. Don't have to say a whole lot about Jarvis Landry since we don't really expect him to see any action. Cam Jordan has 6 sacks and 8 tackles for loss in his past 6 games on the road. He had a sack and interception in the last meeting between these teams, in the last road meeting. So aims for his 3rd in a row versus the Steelers with a pass deflection. So veteran player has had some success against the Steelers. And Tyrann Mathieu, he had a fumble recovery in his last game against the Steelers, which was back on December 26th, day after Christmas, when he was playing with the Kansas City Chiefs. Steelers are +2. Over under is 40 for this game. Boy, is it a bunch of sucker bets. So maybe hold on to your money, folks, and wait and see how this one goes. We're going to see if the Steelers can maybe stack some wins. Couple of games at home. Next week they'll be hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, and then they have some other teams that are in flux. So either they're going to be able to get right with some of those teams, or those teams will be looking at the Steelers as their get right games. But hopefully getting healthy coming into this one at home with a 3-win opponent that hasn't been doing too well, and against a fellow quarterback, formerly of the AFC North, that they've had success against. We'll see what ends up happening. I have no predictions for this one, so just stay tuned. Once again, it's on Fox or NFL Plus locally. You're going to want to check that out. I'll throw the graphic up one more time. This is 506sports.com if you want to check that out. That's always a good one to bookmark. They also have coverage with other sports, college football. You're going to find out what games you can get off the rabbit ears. So that'll do it for me, folks. Thanks for tuning in to the short form version of our Steel City Underground podcast for a little more in-depth details into Sunday's game. Be sure to check out the previous episode, which just aired not quite even 24 hours ago. And we got a little bit of more hard-hitting stuff in there and some fun stories coming off our own bye week. So that'll do it for me. My name is Joe Kuzma. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review wherever you may be listening, wherever you may be watching. We appreciate you. Until next time, we encourage everyone out there to be safe, be good, and we'll catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.